Welcome to the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. Today we're going to be talking about NFTs and meme coins on Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin blockchain. Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. Be sure to smash that like button. Going to be talking about Ordinals, BRC20 tokens, possibly banning BRC20s, stamps, SRC20s, ORC20s, and LTC20. Talking about some Litecoin.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right, and if you guys are watching on replay, be sure to fast forward to about the 4-minute and 27, or why did I say 4:27? At the 4:20 mark or so, maybe about 5, since I just waste a little bit of time running my mouth. Give me that 5x5 if you can hear me. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you smash that like button. We are going to get this live stream started, but as always, before we begin, a few quick channel promos and messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX. Before we get into it, take time to visit my website at ricetvx.com. There you can sign up for my mailing list so you can stay up to date on all things Rice. Once you've signed up for my mailing list, you will find links for my channels and socials towards the top of the website. Make sure you are subscribed to both of my YouTube channels, Rice Against the Grain and Rice TVX. If you want to support my work directly, as well as get early access, exclusive content for both channels, plus more, join my Patreon. And as always, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX who make it possible for me to do this thing full-time for you. You can always find information in every video description for Pre-Search, the decentralized search engine, and Monarch Wallet, where you possess and control your private keys. Again, information is always in every video description. All right, I got that 5x5. Thank you for tuning in. Again, make sure you smash that like button. If you're not already subscribed, I would encourage you to make sure you're subscribed here and at my other channel, Rice Against the Grain. I'm going to have links down below for everything we talk about on today's show. As always, we're going to be covering a lot today. I'm going to be talking about these ordinals. I'm going to be talking about stamps. We got a lot more to cover. Again, we're going to go ahead and get right straight into things. Let me get everything situated on screen. And we are about ready to go. The first thing that I want to let people know is, one, late last night, I shouldn't say late last night, but about 9:00 p.m. Eastern time, I did an interview with Mike in Space. He is the creator of Bitcoin stamps. That interview is available right now on my Patreon channel. Or if you're one of the private members, there are 5 spots left for private members. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you become a patron and you just join month by month, because once my private website is built, I will be giving a 90-day notice that I will be taking my Patreon channel down. But if you would like to watch that interview with Mike in Space, it is available right now, unedited, on my Patreon channel, and you can support Rice TVX as well. As a matter of fact, what I will have going on across the bottom of the screen, I'm going to have some information about my Patreon channel if you would like to support me directly and get access to that exclusive content and early access videos that are unedited. And I will also change that up to share information about how you can get lifetime access to that web for my fundraiser for that private website. And it's going to be getting built when I get back from Miami. I have talked to a few different developers about pinning down who I'm going to use, and I'm going to be getting this thing done as soon as possible. So if you join Patreon, again, only do it on a month-to-month basis. There's information scrolling right now on the bottom of the screen about my Patreon channel. Now, the next thing that I wanted to share is I'm going to be leaving early in the morning. Less than 12 hours from now, I'm actually going to be leaving, going to Miami for Bitcoin 2023, as well as some other events going on. I think I might be in attendance to an event called Bitcoin Builders. I'm going to be going to a comedy show that I covered on the channel called Web3 is a Joke. That's going to be featuring Altcoin Daily, the twins, and also Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Crypto. So if you guys are going to be out in Miami, let me know so that we can connect. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to be talking about on today's show are ordinals. Let me see how everything's going on with the chat. I want to make sure everything sounds and looks good. Just doesn't have as many live viewers tuning in. I guess that's because there might be some conflicts of live streams, or YouTube is not notifying people, or it's a topic that people just aren't interested in. But I'd like to think with what's going on with this craze, upsetting all the Bitcoin maxis and stirring up and reinvigorating Bitcoin, that this is a topic that most people definitely want to hear about. A1, thanks for tuning in, my friend. Justin Trudeau is in the house. Give me a 5x5. Thank you, my friend. What are BRC20s and SRC20s? Okay, so basically, you have a way that some individuals have found that you can create not only NFTs, but meme coins and other things on the Bitcoin blockchain. Sort of like the ERC20s, but these are a little different, and I'm going to be explaining. When I talk about BRC20 tokens, I'm talking about ordinals. When I'm talking about SRC20 tokens, I'm talking about stamps. There's also something I'm briefly going to touch on towards the end called ORC20. And now Litecoin is adding ordinals on the Litecoin blockchain with LTC20s. I think that's right. Or LRC20s. Let me make sure I got that right, because I wrote LTC, but I think it's LRC. It is LTC20. Okay, so they're keeping with that fashion. Okay, so let me go back to that article about ordinals. So basically, that's the gist of it, is that these protocols allow for inscriptions to be created, which allow for NFTs, meme coins, or other kind of tokens. Now, this isn't 100% new. Some of it is, some of it isn't. Stamps is utilizing something under their plumbing, basically, is the way that Mike in Space in the interview called it, is underlying is the counterparty. And you can look up counterparty. We talk about it in the interview that I did with Mike yesterday. I will be releasing that sometime tomorrow afternoon, but if you want to get early access, again, it is on my Patreon channel. And I'm going to be switching up information about the lifetime access. If you guys would like to get lifetime access to the website and get access to the interview early, unedited, with Mike in Space, the creator of Bitcoin Stamps. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. And the first article that I'm going to be sharing is coming from Decrypt. And it's called What Are Ordinals? A Beginner's Guide to Bitcoin NFTs. And this came out by Jason Nelson. Shout out to Jason Nelson. I know him. May 1st, 2023. And it reads, I'm having an itch on my nose. I apologize. My allergies have been really bothering me a lot, even though I'm taking allergy medicine. So the Bitcoin community has gone wild over ordinals inscriptions. But what is the new thing taking over crypto Twitter? Ordinals are the new thing taking Bitcoin by storm. In April of 2023 alone, the daily record for inscriptions using ordinals was broken 4 times as users flooded the network with images, video games, and other content. I'm sure you heard about the rise in Bitcoin transactions and the network getting bloated up in the recent weeks, and this has to do all with mainly ordinals, but also a combination of stamps. And I'll be talking about the differences between them as well, because they are different. So ordinals inscriptions are similar to NFTs. They're digital assets inscribed on a Satoshi, the lowest denomination of a Bitcoin. Inscribing on Satoshis, named after the pseudo-anonymous creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, is possible thanks to the Taproot upgrade that was launched on the Bitcoin network on November 14th, 2021. So what are these things? What are these inscriptions, these ordinals and inscriptions? So Bitcoin developers have worked to bring non-fungible tokens or NFTs to #1 blockchain for nearly a decade. And beginning in 2014 with Counterparty, the creators of the Rare Pepe NFT collection, followed by Stacks in 2017, the inscription process writes or inscribes the data of the content stored into the witness of the Bitcoin transaction. The witness was introduced in the SegWit upgrade to the Bitcoin network in 2017. So the inscription itself is saved in the segregated witness, which was a 2017 upgrade, but it was made possible because of the 2021 upgrade that included Taproot and Schnorr signatures. And these are recent Bitcoin proposals or Bitcoin upgrades that have taken place. 2017, we've seen SegWit. That's when we've seen the hard fork that took place with the creation of Bitcoin Cash. And then in 2021, we've seen the next upgrade, which included Taproot and Schnorr signatures. So what the team came up with ordinals is genius. Alex Miller, the CEO of Hero, a developer for layer 2 smart contract platform Stacks, told Decrypt in an interview, it's super core to the Bitcoin ethos in that they basically took several different things and pieced them together in a way the original creators did not foresee or expect. And that's what I think is really cool about this. The first step in the creation of ordinals is users downloading Bitcoin Core. That's a wallet that downloads the entire Bitcoin transaction history and syncing the node to the blockchain. After the sync is completed, the next step is to create an ordinals wallet and send some Satoshis to the wallet. So it explains how we got to this point. Talks about segregated witness fixed a host of bugs in the Bitcoin Core, allowing more transactions per block. And it laid the groundwork for layer 2 payment channels like Bitcoin Lightning Network. SegWit caused heated debate in the Bitcoin community and led to the hard fork of the network, resulting in the launch of rival blockchains, Bitcoin Cash, and then ultimately Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Satoshi's vision. I can encourage you to read the rest of this article. It continues talking about with Taproot, all parties in a transaction can cooperate, making these complex. This is really nerdy stuff, and please, I'm going to try to make it as exciting as possible. But it makes all parties in a transaction can cooperate to make these complex transactions look like a standard peer-to-peer transaction. And they do so by combining their private keys to create a new public key, or combining their public keys to create a new public key and combining their signatures to create a new signature. And it does this through Schnorr signatures. So it was these recent last 2 upgrades to the Bitcoin network that allowed for this to happen. So you can find more information about ordinals at ordinals.com. And basically what you're seeing here is the latest inscriptions. These are what the actual inscriptions look like as far as the data on the blockchains. Now, even though you can't see the image in these specifically, the ones that do have images are stored on the blockchain. That is the difference between the NFTs that you see on other blockchains. So for example, when you have an NFT on the Ethereum blockchain, the data itself from the NFT is not actually stored on the Ethereum blockchain itself. It's stored in Amazon Web Services or stored using IPFS. And really what you have with those NFTs is just proof of cloud, because the actual image is not on the blockchain itself. So that is kind of an issue if something was to come up in the future regarding the storage element to that. But with these Bitcoin ordinals and the Bitcoin stamps, they are on the Bitcoin blockchain in permanence. Now, there is talk about banning the ordinals, and we will get into that here in just a moment. So you could check out this nerdy website over at ordinals.com if you would like to go to a more exciting, easier to use website where you can create your own wallet for the BRC20 tokens, specifically the ordinals. You go to ordinalswallet.com. And again, everything is linked down below in the video description. Do appreciate you guys for taking the time to tune in for today's video. And to continue on, here's where you can actually create your own. You can look at different collections. You can see the activity, and if you would like to donate to the cause, there is some social media information. You got a Discord and a Twitter account that you can check out. With the inscribe, this is where you can actually inscribe your ordinals, and you would have to have a wallet created, or you can connect the wallet. You have the option of files, text, and then the BRCs. So since I don't have a wallet connected or a wallet set up, I can't do anything further than this. But this is how you would create either a filed inscription, a text inscription, or a BRC20 ordinals using the inscribe area. Now you can see the inscriptions that are created right here. And some of them you'll see graphics. And again, these graphics are on chain. What you see here is on chain. Everything's on chain. It's not in a, it's not using IPFS, and it's not Amazon Web Services either. There is also the collections. So if you would like to check out different collections that were made, the very first one listed is Pixel Pepes, and then we have sub 100K. Now, I'm not very familiar with all these tokens. Once I get back from Miami, I do plan on doing a deeper dive into the actual ecosystems of both ordinals and stamps. I don't personally think that they're going to ban ordinals, but I will be talking about that here in just a moment. But you could just scroll down yourself and look at all the different BRC20 tokens and ordinal tokens that have been created. We have Bitcoin punks. I mean, there's a variety of things. Some of these things have had some insane, crazy gains. Now, going back up to the top, we're looking at this from a 7-day change. But in 7 days, we've seen this Doge punks has gone up over 5,500%. As we scroll down, you have the Bit Amigos, and they look like they have gone up 40,000% in 7 days. Now, again, always do your own research. This is not financial advice. I just wanted to provide information of where you can find more information about the ordinals and the stamps. So this next article also comes from Decrypt, and it states Bitcoin developer calls to block ordinals, BRC20 tokens from network. This is really interesting. And the thing about this is the Bitcoin network is supposed to be about freedom. And for anyone that is a developer on the network to want to censor information because they feel like it's equivalent to spam, it is not really a conducive way of moving forward. It really makes everyone look very hypocritical, and it's an argument. So I'm kind of curious of the people who did this, who are behind all of this, including Mike in Space. And I didn't ask him this question, but he has agreed to come on for another interview. I'm wondering if they were doing something like this to try to force some sort of block size increase on Bitcoin itself, because we've seen it successfully done with other hard forks. So it is very much possible. And it could be done on Bitcoin if you think of the other hard forks as being canary networks or test networks. So I'm just curious about that. If that was kind of the thought process behind what these guys were doing, was forcing the upper hand, because the main individual that's pushing for this, one of the core developers, his name is Luke Dash Jr. His actual name is Luke Jr., but they call him Luke Dash Jr. because of the way he puts his handle on social media. But he's a leading Bitcoin code contributor on GitHub, and he emailed other Bitcoin developers and miners asking them to implement a spam filtration as part of the Taproot transactions to block Ordinals and BRC20 tokens, and claims that these actions should have been taken months ago. Spam filtration has been a standard part of the Bitcoin core since day one. Now, people are paying for these transactions, and the miners seem to be happy with this. I think, again, if you increase the block size, it would alleviate some of the pressure that we're seeing on Bitcoin that these are causing. But again, did they do this? Is this being done to kind of push Bitcoin into bigger blocks? Because that, again, is what caused Bitcoin Cash to be created. And if you're not familiar with that whole hard fork situation in 2017, I got a playlist in my playlist section with Roger Ver, and I encourage you to check it out. There's 3 interviews. In the very first one, we go over the entire history of what happened with that hard fork taking place and where he went from supporting Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. Very interesting interview, and I definitely encourage you to check them out. So the developer wrote that the change must be imposed either through a Bitcoin improvement proposal, which is what I mentioned earlier, the BIPs, or as an update to the network's core client that node operators and miners run to validate transactions. Dash Jr. noted that in the email that the filter could be implemented immediately as a bug fix and doesn't need to wait for the major release or a soft fork. So he's really, really pushing for this, but it doesn't appear that there's any other Bitcoin core developers that are on Luke Dash Jr.'s side. And the other thing I want to note about this Luke Dash Jr. guy is he is one of the co-founders of Blockstream, along with Adam Back. And if you're not familiar with Blockstream, check out my must-watch crypto playlist. I know I talk about Blockstream in several of the videos there and my thoughts and feelings. And I also talk about that in my video that I did that I took from a conversation on Around the Blockchain where I was debating Paul from the Crypto Factor, and we talk about that. So you can find that video in my content section. It's not a live video, so be sure to check those out. And yeah, so my feeling is this. It is if this was to be done, it's going to show the centralization in Bitcoin. If this isn't done and it doesn't look like any other developers are pushing for it, we may have to see Bitcoin increase its block size. Let me know what you think about that, either in the comment section or in the live chat. Now, we'll come to the live chat after I'm done covering everything that I was planning on covering on today's video. So the next thing I want to talk about are Bitcoin stamps. And if you just happen to be tuning in, I will remind you that I interviewed Mike in Space, Bitcoin stamps creator, last night. That interview is available right meow over on my Patreon channel, unedited for early access. Information's in the video description. It's a way that you can support the channel, and it would be greatly appreciated. So coming here to Bitcoin stamps, I chose these 2 particular articles because they cover the information in a really conducive manner as far as flow for what I want to talk about. So this comes from trustmachines.co, and it is entitled, "What are Bitcoin stamps and how do they work?" I'm going to actually take this earpiece out of my ear because I don't need it and I hear myself. And I don't really need to listen to myself. All right. So what are these Bitcoin stamps? Because these are the SRC20s. So what I just spoke about were Ordinals, BRC20 tokens. They're pretty much the same thing. It's a very new technology. They could be NFTs, they could be tokens, they could be whatever you want these things to be representations of and how you create them. So you have Ordinals, BRC20s. We just covered that. And now we're going to be talking about stamps. SRC20s, SRC20 tokens. So first we had Ordinals, now we have Bitcoin stamps. Thanks to a recent surge in Ordinals, Bitcoin stamps has emerged as the latest craze in the Bitcoin digital collectibles. They have harnessed the security of the Bitcoin L1 to offer yet another avenue for users to explore the possibilities that exist on the Bitcoin blockchain. The flexibility to mint or stamp digital collections on Bitcoin has seen activity grow more rapidly than Ordinals. We'll explain how and why. So what are Bitcoin stamps? Bitcoin stamps are akin to ERC 1155, which are tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. They're semi-fungible tokens or digital collectibles. However, they're stored directly on Bitcoin's unspent transaction outputs. So this is how they differ, the ordinals and the stamps. The ordinals, they are embedded in the witness data in SegWit, and then stamps are embedded in the UTXO, the unspent transaction output data, which are records of unspent Bitcoin when transactions between two parties are made, rather than in the witness data like ordinals. In order to understand how Bitcoin stamps are minted, we also need to understand the counterparty protocol. Now, I'm not going to cover that on today's video. This is linked down below. If you want to do a deeper dive, you want to read all about counterparty, or you can check out that interview with Mike in Space, because we talk about counterparty on that interview. But basically, counterparty is the plumbing that Bitcoin stamps uses to be able to create stamps and SRC20 tokens. That's kind of the long end of the short of it. Bitcoin stamps and ordinals face off. So the witness data discounts does not apply to minting Bitcoin stamps, considerably increasing the cost 4 times compared to ordinals inscriptions. However, counterparty provides less user friction in minting, a 1-to-1 or 1-to-100 in any given time. Despite having limited tooling and wallet support, the protocol has more feature-rich capabilities for on-chain Bitcoin protocols than ordinals. Now, if you think about the fact that ordinals could be banned, the thing about Bitcoin stamps is they cannot. They cannot. So Bitcoin stamps, like the word stamps itself, stands for secure, tradable art maintained permanently. Whereas the ordinals, the BRC20 tokens, apparently can be blocked on the chain via spam filters. So Bitcoin stamps have a greater permanence than Bitcoin ordinals. And the degree of immutability between Bitcoin stamps and ordinals differs. Encoded image data for Bitcoin stamps lives in the transaction outputs on the Bitcoin blockchain, requiring Bitcoin nodes to download all the data to maintain the blockchain. They have to download the UTXO. It is required, and there's no way they're going to be able to get rid of the UTXO. However, ordinals data lives in witness data, creating an environment where the image data can be pruned, which means filtered and not included. The controversy over the Bitcoin stamps. The controversy over the stamps touches on various areas, which includes discussions around immutability and bloating the UTXO set. When comparing Bitcoin stamps to ordinals, there were heated debate about which was more or less prunable. It became clear that Bitcoin stamps are less prunable because image data is stored in Bitcoin's UTXO instead of the witness data. The initial discussion around the UTXO set bloat largely revolved around uncertainty of increasing hardware requirements, meaning RAM for users running a Bitcoin node. I definitely need to get my reading glasses, which I don't even have handy. Let's see if these help a little bit. So it's pretty interesting what they've created here between the ordinals and the stamps. You can continue reading. If you want to read over that information about counterparty, I definitely encourage you to do so. This next article comes from the bitcoinmanual.com. What are SRC20 tokens? And I want to appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in, and I will come to the live chat as soon as I'm done covering everything that I wanted to cover on today's video, which won't be much longer. And again, if you're going to be in Miami this week for Bitcoin 2023, let me know. I'd like to see you. I'd love to meet you. So hit me up. Be sure to smash that like button. And as we continue on, because there were specific things that I wanted to share from each article. And again, I encourage you to read these in their entirety. Now, this isn't 100% accurate right here. And I think they talk about stamps, what stamps mean. Maybe it was another article where they actually used the wrong terminology. Yeah, this is actually the article, because it says here stamps is this is what they mean, but that's a misprint because it's supposed to be maintained permanently. Stamp, multiple stamps, multiple stamp would be stamps. So what are Bitcoin stamps? If you're creating a product to try to capture capital flow during a market frenzy or trend, you need to come up with a plausible use case or a compelling narrative. One such development is the concept of Bitcoin stamps, or SRC20 tokens. It drawn some inspiration from Ordinals and Counterparty, a minting asset protocol that launched the Rare Pepe NFT collection in 2014. Again, this is incorrect. Secure, tradable art maintained permanently. And if you want to add securely, that could be the stamps. But I think it's just permanently. And it says there is a complete different standard and there's no interoperability between the two methods. So they're very different. The creator Mike in Space, who I interviewed last night, claims that stamps guarantees greater permanence than other protocols as they have stored directly in the spendable transaction output of the blockchain, making them impossible to prune. Now, I'm not sure if he meant to put unspendable, and whoever wrote this article needs to definitely do some corrections here. I didn't realize it was written so badly and might have had some yeah, I don't get it. So anyways, in the last month since the launch of the first stamp, 16,500 stamp have been created on the Bitcoin blockchain, outpacing the daily growth of assets created compared to Ordinals over its launch pad period. And here it goes on to explain what the ERC1555 tokens are. As BRC20 tokens have taken inspiration from ERC20, and BRC721 gets its name from ERC. Now, see, I didn't even know there was a BRC721. So this is getting a little too techie right here. They talk about use cases for stamps. Basically, at the moment, it's not much apart from minting fractional NFTs and storing data across the Bitcoin nodes comes at a cost. Since the method requires a lot of block space and resources, Stamps suggested use case is for lightweight 24 by 24 pixel, 8 color depth PNG or GIFs, and make up an entire NFT. It can be sold in different portions based on the size of the image. Think of it as fractional NFTs. Instead of trading an entire PNG, you're trading a slice of a larger PNG. The developer of Stamps has also noted that he's already in discussions with Emblem and Hero Wallets to arrange protocol integrations, the former of which will allow users to buy and sell stamps on third-party marketplaces like OpenSea. They explain how Stamps works. And then here are the main differences. And this is the main thing that I wanted to share with everybody, as well as yeah, that was the last thing I wanted to share, was how are stamps different from ordinals and inscriptions. Again, stamps are SRC20s, ordinals are BRC20s, and inscriptions are basically a name for all of them because they have all inscription methods from what I understand. Bitcoin stamps are distinct from ordinals and inscription in several ways. While all three concepts involve adding information to a transaction, they serve different purposes and have unique characteristics. One, ordinals can be pruned by nodes that wish to remove old witness data, while stamps cannot be pruned as it lives on the UTXO set. Stamps require more resources and are more costly to use than inscriptions. So maybe there is a difference between inscriptions and stamps, but stamps cost more than the ordinals, but the ordinals can be pruned and the stamps cannot. So you get what you kind of get what you pay for here. Ordinals use Taproot. Make sure I covered everything. Stamps require more resources. I said that. Ordinals use Taproot and can be conducted as a single signature transaction, where stamps is a multi-sig with other keys being fake data. Instead of it being a key to sign the multi-sig, it is the stamp's file data. Again, stores on chain, whereas Ethereum and most other blockchains, the data does not store on the blockchains. It stores on something like IPFS or AWS, and you've got a proof of cloud with your NFT basically. Inscriptions are cheaper, as I said, as they use SegWit discount, and a transaction construction is much more compact when compared to stamps. Stamps can be destroyed if the UTXO set tied to it is spent from the wallet. This is something I wasn't aware of. Stamps can be destroyed if the UTXO tied to it is spent from the wallet. Now, I don't really fully understand what that means. There is a lot of technical stuff when it comes into fully understanding these technologies. I'm new, and I am going to be doing a lot deeper of a dive, but I really want to kind of cover the basics for you guys, and I think I'm doing a good job doing that. The next thing I wanted to share was where you guys can actually find and mint the stamps themselves. So this is stampchain.io. We talk about this in the interview that I did with Mike in Space. I think I went to one of the last websites, but here are last pages, but this is the actual art. Now you can see like these pieces are fractional and they make up, so you can get all these different pieces and make up the whole image. So you can have a large, like I said, a large image broken up into small pieces, or it can just be a smaller image. But as you can see here, like you got something that looks like it would be part of the word Nakamoto. And this looks like it would be the Rare Pepe version of Dorian Nakamoto, if you guys are familiar with him. The other website that I was going to share, oh, real quick, minting. If you want to create your own stamps, unprintable UTXO art, because sats don't exist, you can check out the SRC20 token specs. They have an about section, and here's the minting section. So you would click on minting, excuse me. You would click on minting, and I've got something blocking. Stamp minting utility. So stamp minting utility, you would choose your file size and fill in the proper information that it's asking you to fill in here. Now, I do have this link down below, and this is from Twitter, a gentleman by the name of Alex Wasey, at Wasey_time1. It's got a really good tutorial about how to create stamps. I'll share that here in just a moment. You can also go to rarestamp.xyz. That's another marketplace for the Bitcoin stamps as well. Yeah, I believe you can mint here too. So it gives you minting options on both. The difference is stampchain.io is the actual website created by the creator, Mike in Space, whereas Rare Stamp is something completely independent, utilizing the technology. So here again, you can see how you're creating your stamps. It looks like it also SRC20 update, minting pause to launch real-time balance, indexer, and process queue backlog. So if you have initiated your SRC20 minting, don't worry, your application is in the queue and will be processed. Okay, so it's great. They're giving great updates. Shows how many different stamps. There's over 30,000 stamps, so we're early to this bad boy. Again, you can connect your wallet up here. Let me see what this is going to say for us. Some of these websites have been very slow. And being that the minting is down, maybe it's not letting me connect wallets. So I mentioned this tutorial about how to make stamps. This is linked down below. I believe it starts at like number 9 in this thread. So here we are. While there is a divide within the Bitcoin community, it's clear that Ordinals will face significant obstacles if certain restrictions are enforced. Luckily, stamps and SRC20 tokens have emerged as viable alternatives. And here's an intro on how to get started with stamps. And here is information on creating a wallet. How to deposit your Bitcoin in the wallet, how to mint your SRC20 tokens, to enter the information about the token that is deployed. Very informative. So if you want to create your own stamps, I like the idea of permanence, greater permanence. Even though the ordinals are cheaper to create, they could be filtered. Now, the other thing that I wanted to cover are ORC20 tokens. I haven't dug into this very deep, just found this article maybe an hour and a half before I set the live stream. But I just wanted to explain what they are. And then you can read the article in its entirety. So it's an open standard for ordinal tokens on the Bitcoin network, created with the aim of adding new features to BRC20 tokens. It's aimed to be backwards compatible with BRC20 to improve adaptability, scalability, and security, and to eliminate the possibility of double spending, which has been an issue that plagues certain BRC20 tokens. Wasn't aware of that. As is the case with BRC20 tokens, ORC20s is an experimental project, and there's no guarantee that the tokens created with the standard will have any value or utility. They might bring in new features, but they also could bring along new set of issues, bugs, and trade-offs that market participants will naturally exploit. So again, always do your own research. This video is not intended for financial advice. It's just to share some information about what these NFTs and meme coins on Bitcoin are and how they're being created and what these technologies are. What are the ORC20 tokens? I like ORC, but if you're calling the other ones BRC and SRC, might as well say ORC. ORC, like BRC20 tokens, are JSON files added to the Bitcoin blockchain and inscribed onto Satoshis with an ordinal serial number. The format supports a wider range of formats and consists of key value pairs. All data are case insensitive. The transaction model is based on the UTXO model. In each transfer, the sender specifies the amount to be received by the receiver, and the remaining balance is to be sent by the sender, making them easier to transfer. Upon the completion of each transaction, the previous inscribed balance will no longer be in a valid state, hence adopting the UTXO model. Each sends event can include a nonce. A sender can cancel a partial transaction by specifying nonce, and I have no clue what that means. That's really going over top my pay grade as far as my technical ability. So how are the ORC20 tokens different from BRC20 tokens? There is a little graph here that it's in comparison that shows you that. And again, I definitely encourage you to do a deeper dive yourself. Now, the last thing that I wanted to move on and talk about and share, because this is a trend that is going to other blockchains. We're seeing this. So not only Litecoin, but apparently stamps are being created on Doge as well. Now, as long as the particular cryptocurrency is a UTXO based cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, like I said, Litecoin, Dogecoin is a UTXO coin. There are lots of other UTXO coins. Those coins that have the UTXO technology versus and I forget what the versus is called on Ethereum. If you guys know in the chat, please let me know. But yeah, I mean, some of this technical stuff I try my best to understand, but some of it is really too extremely difficult and very time consuming. So basically, long end of the short is these are NFTs, meme coins. It's an art experiment all on the Bitcoin blockchain. Again, the data is stored permanently on the Bitcoin blockchain, whereas, for example, with Ethereum, the data is stored on IPFS or AWS, and you have proof of cloud with your NFT. So the Litecoin community, and this article comes from beingcrypto.com, and it came out on May the 2nd. Litecoin community introduces LTC20, an experimental standard for NFTs. Now, I'm glad that it's called an experimental standard because that's all this is. Now, I'm not going to show any more of this article. I really wanted to just let you know that there are other blockchains, UTXO based, that are utilizing these technologies. What was I going to say? An experimental standard. So when I was interviewing Mike in Space last night, the creator from Bitcoin Stamps, he was talking about this as being an art experiment. we're so new in all these technologies that we don't even know some of the things that can be done on these blockchains or with cryptocurrencies. Because as Bitcoin was created, nowhere do I believe that the individual or group known as Satoshi Nakamoto or the core developers had any clue that this could be done. And being that the ordinals, the BRC20 tokens, can be banned with the filtration, a spam filtration method, and seeing how the stamps creator Mike in Space used the UTXO, which is something that the UTXO data, which is something that has to be included in the blocks. It's not something that they can filter out, and it allows for greater permanence. It's genius to me. It's genius that they were able to gamify the system. And again, if the intention behind this is ultimately to scale Bitcoin, so be it. So be it, because that has caused so much debate and turmoil in the Bitcoin space. And what we call Bitcoin maximalists, the maxis, are not fans at all of ordinals or stamps. And what's interesting is going to the Bitcoin conference this week, Bitcoin Magazine has been doing ordinals. I'm not sure if they've done anything with stamps yet, but they've made some ordinals. And I believe the Bitcoin Maxi community has kind of shunned the Bitcoin Magazine, which was basically a Bitcoin Maxi-esque conference. It's very hypocritical. It's very, very hypocritical, but it's awesome to see some excitement being brought back to Bitcoin. That's all I can say. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the live chat. Then we're going to be wrapping up today's live stream. Again, I do appreciate you tuning in. If you have not smashed that like button, I greatly appreciate it if you do so. Doesn't look like we got a lot of viewers, but hopefully a lot of people will be watching this on replay. If you've created a stamp, if you've created an ordinal, let me know. I'd like to learn about it. If you know more about this technology than myself and you would like to share some information, hit me up, because I'm definitely up for learning more when I get back from Miami. Kathy R. Yeah, I'm not going to put that on screen, Kathy, but unfortunately, yeah, there's lots of problems within the cannabis industry, unfortunately. Crypto Wolf was saying that the JSON format used by all document databases and nothing Bitcoin specific. A1, that's why merchant accounts used in dispensaries do cash withdrawals. Okay, and that's part of that conversation. Let's see what we got going on here. Again, I do appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in. Definitely, my friend. Thank you for tuning in, Gulag. I sent some emails to you that I need to get a response from you. So make sure you check your emails out, my friend. I greatly appreciate that. El Pero, thanks for tuning in. A1. Tara Spence, it's always good seeing you, my friend. Roaming Nomad, totally agree. Hopefully this leads to scaling for Bitcoin. Glad you said that. Bitcoin Magazine is also a shitcoin magazine for a long time. Well, interesting. I've never actually looked at many issues of the magazine. Alex Layer 2 for BRC20 on Stacks. Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a deeper dive into, I think it's called Rootstock and Stacks, all these different second layer protocols on Bitcoin, because it's really innovative. And I think it's really cool, like some of the things that are being done in experiments to be brought to the Bitcoin blockchain. And I look forward to the future. The future is bright. I definitely look forward to being in Miami, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in for today's video. I think this is a good place to get ready to wrap things up. I've got to start finishing up my packing. What else do I got to do? I got to go to bed and try to go to bed in the next 3.5 hours, because I've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for a super early flight. I'll be in Miami early afternoon tomorrow. So if you're going to be at Bitcoin 2023, hit me up. I'll be in attendance at Web3 is a Joke. I did an interview with Mona Sheikh. She is the host, and she is a stand-up comedian, the host of the event. You can learn more about Web3 is a joke on that video. Be sure to catch up on my other content. Make sure you subscribe to both of my channels here, Rice TVX, and my other channel, Rice Against the Grain. I wanted to see if you had any other comments before I wrap up. Thank you, Rummy Nomad. I appreciate. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in for today's video. If you want to get early access to my interview with Mike in Space, the creator of Bitcoin Stamps, that is available right now on my Patreon channel. So be sure to check it out. Get early access, unedited, lots of other exclusive content and more. And it's a way that you can support Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain, because I have 2 channels and you can find all those videos on one Patreon. So thank you again for tuning in for today's video. I'll put out another video out tomorrow, and then I won't have another video till I get back from Miami. So look for a new video early next week beyond tomorrow's video. And before we wrap things up, again, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribed. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.